Okay. Mm-hmm.
No, I think needs to be lower. Yeah.
Moving on to the next teller. The next teller is Bhavana. Over to you, Bhavana. I'm scared to drop it.
This is just too much. There's just one person. You can go to the gallery. Okay. Yeah. So, our village is especially proud of three things. The first thing is our temple. We're especially proud of the temple because it's one of the earliest examples of Pallava architecture. And scholars from the nearest university, that is the Madras University, keep coming down to our village to exclaim over its grace and the balance of its culture. There's also a very old and vast people tree outside the temple. And on that tree, you can see that there are tied like there are pieces of white cloth tied to it that have been tied by all the devotees who've had their prayers answered through the temple. So they're just basically like a return from the devotees. The second thing that we're most proud of is our local idiot. Old mother, that's like we call her that as a sign of respect. She tells us of the night that he was born. There was a wandering sadhu who was passing by through our village, and he declared that the idiot would be under his spiritual blessing from now on. His mother, she lived just long enough to smile upon hearing the blessing. And the old sadhu turned towards old mother and told her under his breath, take care of him, he will need it. And so the idiot went into old mother's care. She lived just down the street at the corner, the hut in the corner. This idiot, he was just like a large boy, like a witless boy who would roam around making raucous noises with his banana leaf whistle. He'd make a new one every day. And he'd just roam around aimlessly until once old mother, when she'd gone to the city, she'd gotten him a tin of polish. And after that day, he would spend his days and, sort of also like earn for himself through polishing bicycles, and on occasions, he'd also polish motor cars. It was also believed amongst us villagers that the spiritual blessing that he had gotten from the sadhu affected not only the idiot, but also his surroundings. Because anytime there was some calamity that would hit our surrounding villages, we were always safe. At times of famine, there was always food in the granaries at the temple. And at times of drought, there was always water in the well, right beside old mother's house, where the idiot also lived. And we were also positive that it was the old idiot's efforts of polishing the Zamindar's car that we got the heaviest endowment for, we got the heaviest donation for our middle school, which was the third thing that we're proud of. So the Zamindar had made that donation to the school as an endowment, like in memory of his son that had died very young. That was his elder son. And now he has another son also, who's about 40 years old. So this donation ensured that we could hire any schoolmaster that we wanted at our own discretion without having to worry about how much donation we've gotten from the government. And recently it was decided that, we needed a new schoolmaster. The summer vacations were getting over. And so the middle school authorities had given an advertisement in the newspaper. And like we villagers were very proud of the middle school. So we would also ensure to donate whatever we could to keep the school running and in good condition. Old mother, she would take it upon herself to give a stinging lash of her tongue to anybody who decided that the kids were better off helping them in the fields rather than sitting in school all day. She also thought it would be nice if she could get a verbal report of what happened in the board meeting of the school. from the Karnam. So Karnam is basically, he was a member of the panchayat, and he took care of all of these formal paperwork that was going on in the village. So we had received 5 applicants. 2 of them were rejected immediately because they were too young, barely 21. And the next one was very arrogantly written. He asked if there was a cinema in the village and whatnot. The third one, the fourth one had a lot of degrees. And the fifth one was just right. He'd written in his letter of application about all that he wanted to do in his work with the children. And we were all very pleased. But there was just one problem. He was from the north and probably a stranger to our ways. So, but we were very pleased with his letter. So we went ahead with accepting his application. So on the day of his arrival, we waited under the banyan tree. So if you were coming from the railway station to our village, the railway station was about 10 miles from here. The first point that you'd see is the huge banyan tree, and the banyan tree is right outside the middle school. So all of us villagers, we were waiting there. The children were in one corner, and he came on his horse-driven jutka. And then he climbed down, and then we were all looking at him, observing everything. He was like a small, slim guy, rather nondescript, like his physical appearance. But he had a very charming one-sided smile. And old mother observed that he had worn a hand-spun shirt and dhoti. And through his open shirt, she could also see the golden, the sacred thread that Brahmins wear, which also met her approval because it made her think that he was a Brahmin and he knew how to read the classical texts. And also 2 years before Gandhiji died, he had visited our village. So, and since then we have this cooperative handloom that's there in our village. And every man, child and woman in our village knew how to spin. So we felt really proud when we saw him wearing hand-spun clothes. So everything about him just met our approval. He was formally invited by the Karnam, and in return, he just gave his one-sided charming smile. And the Karnam took him to his hut, which was in the middle of the village. And he also soon bought a cycle upon which he'd ride up and down from school every morning and evening. So the next day, we were very excited to know, what the children think of the schoolmaster. The children half suspiciously, half curiously, and also half unwillingly to go back to school after vacation. They went to school, and us elders, we were anxious about, how the schoolmaster would turn up. But then at lunch hour, we heard a collective joyous yell from the school, and we all knew that the schoolmaster was definitely a success. His ways were rather unusual. Like sometimes the children would have their classes under the mango tree outside inside the school, sometimes under the banyan tree. And then they would also go across these rambles in the village on the outskirts. And then they'd collect leaves and some sticks. And, Mr. Sharma also bought them a camera with his own money. And he also taught them how to make film. So like a few months passed, and then like in the first 2 months, everybody was just so astonished with his unusual ways to make comment. In the third month, some people started disapproving, but then the children were very happy. So none of their opinions were really given any attention to. It was all going very well, unless, there was this incident with the zamindar. Our zamindar was like, he wasn't like the one that you see in the movies, horny and bloated. He was rather like a poor absent-minded soul, Ever since he had lost his son, he sort of didn't feel like celebrating life anymore, like normally rich people would do. He just, roam across the country looking for a guru, because even his wife was dead. So probably he felt very lonely. And that's the only gossip that we had, that us villagers, we had about the zamindar. So he lived in this huge mansion that was there across the rice fields, and then you have to cross the mango grove to reach his mansion. The rice fields are barely a fraction of what he used to once own. Like after the Zamindari abolition bill, he's lost all of his wealth, like most of his wealth. But we villagers, we ensured to help him retain his title and much of the prestige. So, like now, most of what he earned through these rice fields, most of it was spent on his son. So the other son who didn't die, he he lived abroad for a few years, and he came back really addicted to parties. So on whichever weekend he decided to entertain, we'd see like cars driving down from the nearest city, and all of these cars were like really huge. And us villagers, we were born with this sort of tolerance we had in our blood, so we left the intruders alone. But the children were really curious, so on the nights of these parties, these children would go and sit on the fence of these parties, and then they'd look through the window, through all, like through the furniture, the light, the drinks, and all the clothes that they were wearing, all the shimmery clothes. So, but nowadays the parties had also become much less frequent. The schoolmaster told the children that it was probably because of the prohibition. So liquor was banned through the entire state by the government. But then he still had them. So once, when the schoolmaster explained the liquor ban in class, it all translated in the terms of Meenu. So Meenu was this young girl of just barely 7 years old. She was a small, slim creature, and she'd sit on the desk that was right beside the door always. And the liquor ban uh, affected her in a very strong way, because her dad was a toddy tapper, and now he was out of job. So the liquor ban meant that he was out of job. And she just, ever since then, she just looked sorrowfully at the schoolmaster every time he was teaching with her wide eyes open. And it was a sad incident, and the boys thought that she was beautiful. And so now they saw the motor cars driving in, and the boys decided that it would be a good idea to take her with them, when they looked over the fence for the party. And so, but this time the party was really loud, and they all reached there at the fence. This time the party was really loud, so they decided it would be better if they, rushed back before the adults woke and found out that the kids are missing. But then they were a little bit too late, because the guests, they started wandering about in the garden, and then they spotted Meenu while they were jumping back. Meenu was the last one to jump back to like the outside of the mansion from the fence. So there was this white tall guy. He just held Meenu's skirt and he pulled her down into the property. And Meenu just yelled, she screamed, and the boys came back to her rescue. But then by the time they could reach and like bear her off to safety, she was surrounded by all of these foreign men. Some were Indian, some were white, and they were all very tall. They were pinching her cheeks and asking her all sorts of questions. So, but the boys somehow butted their way through the crowd, and then they bore her off to safety. They were all too scared to, go to their parents and tell them what was happening. So they decided to go to Mr. Sharma. They knocked his door, and then a sleepy voice answered. They told Mr. Sharma what had happened. Mr. Sharma just heated some milk, and then he held Meenu in his lap until she stopped shivering. And the next morning, before the story had any time to reach anybody else's ears, Mr. Sharma walked purposefully towards the mango grove, and then the house after that followed. The caretaker saw him come in, and then he brought Mr. Sharma to the dining room where the Zamindar's son, the young Zamindar, was having his breakfast. And then he says, "Yes, what can I do for you?" Implying, what can I do for you so early in the morning? What are you doing here? And then Mr. Sharma says he recounts the incident quietly but firmly, what had happened the previous evening. And the young Zamindar just goes like, yeah, what do you want me to do about it? And Mr. Sharma says, I'd like you to teach your guests to keep their hands off the village children. And then the young Zamindar's left eyebrow and his anger rise together. And then he says, I will not have you insult my guests under my very roof. Get out. And then the schoolmaster, he's shocked. He's like, okay, fine, I will get out. But if any of the village children are touched ever again, I will ensure that the police is aware that you have liquor in your house. Just then the old Zamindar walks in. And then he asks Mr. Sharma some vague questions about what's happening and all of that. And then he offers Mr. Sharma a cup of coffee after 5 minutes of just chatter. And then he's like, forgive an old man's curiosity, but what made you think you could pull off the blackmailing stunt? And Mr. Sharma smiled and he's like, oh, it's just, I must have, like my honesty must have gotten the better of me and my anger must have gotten the better of me. I totally forgot that I was talking to the Zamindar. But, and then he stopped smiling and then he continued. But I remembered Meenu, her eyes, they were full of fear. And the old Zamindar stops him, Meenu? And then he's like, yes, she's the village toddy tapper's daughter. Just look at this for fair. How is that for fairness that, you know, her father loses her job because of the liquor ban while your son's bootlegging friends harassed her. And so the old man then goes on to, like, you know, by this, after this dialogue, Mr. Sharma was expecting a storm. So the old man, but he's rather calm. Then he asked, hey, what do you think of my son? And then Mr. Sharma is a little shocked at this off-topicness. But then again, his honesty got the better of him. And then he said he's like a dissipated child of 40. And then again, he's just anxious, waiting for the storm, just like what you said earlier. The old man just says, he's not 40 yet though. And then he's like, you know, you have an opinion about almost everybody. You have an opinion about my son. You have an opinion about Meenu. I'm sure you also have an opinion about me. Have you ever considered becoming a guru? And Mr. Sharma said all his thanks and his gratitude all at once. And then he's like, oh, I'll see you later. And thanks for having me. And I'm sorry. And he just ran from there. And after that incident, I mean, so the caretaker ensured that, you know, all of this reached the villagers. He was eavesdropping. He was definitely on Mr. Sharma's side. But then also he was loyal to the Zamindar because his whole line of family had been eating because of the salary that was given by the Zamindar's family line. So he told the villagers, and then the Karnam was like, you know, he's the Zamindar after all. You can't talk to him like that. And old mother, he was like, oh, he knows the classical text. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. And then the Karnam is like, you know, there is some courtesy that you show, some respect to the Zamindar. So, you know, there's all of this debate. And then what happens is there's a shocking news of the Zamindar buying like an abandoned house that was there near the middle school. And he gets it renovated and furnished for Mr. Sharma. And then he also gives an extra grant to the school to increase Mr. Sharma's salary. Sort of, he was trying to do everything to woo Mr. Sharma into, you know, becoming his guru. And Mr. Sharma was just keeping away from all of that. And he also now stopped talking to most of the adults. Earlier, like when he used to ride on his cycle back in from and to the school, he'd always say hi to, you know, everybody he'd interacted with before, to the children's parents and the grocery shop owner, old mother. He'd also ask old mother for food sometimes and he was too lazy to cook. But then all of that had stopped. He kept to himself, and then the only interaction that he had was with the children at the school, or sometimes when he saw them around in the village. And then the Karnam comes to Mr. Sharma one fine day when the house is ready and furnished, to tell him the good news that, the Zamindar has done so and so for you. And his tone mainly implied that, even after all the disrespect that you've given him, the Zamindar is doing so much for you. And then Mr. Sharma just gets very irritated and he says, thanks, but no thanks. Please ask that guy to leave me alone. And then without any choice, he has to move to that house. And so now instead of going on his cycle, he just walks to the school when the sun rises, and then he's back when the sun sets. And he's just keeping to himself. But then one fine day, there are rumors in the whole of the village that Mr. Sharma is talking to himself. So old mother is like, he's probably reciting the classical text. And why shouldn't a man talk to himself? I talk to myself sometimes too. And then the Karnam is like, no, this is different. He's just holding like long conversations with himself. But then a lot of villagers, like for 1 or 2 months, they were just trying to find out why is he talking to himself, Meenu had the answer for this because once in school, she had stopped Mr. Sharma and said, teacher, why do you talk to yourself? And then Mr. Sharma just tells her that, oh, because I find myself like the perfect listener. None of the village members are really listening to me, They're all just disagreeing on whatever I have to say. So Meenu didn't understand, but she's like, yeah, okay, teacher. And then she just says bye and then she leaves for home. But then it all started getting too much. And day by day, Mr. Sharma's conversations with himself got even longer and longer. So the villagers decide that, it would be best just to sack him because he has the responsibility of very young minds. So they decide to sack him, and the Karnam goes to give him the news like he always does with any piece of news. And and Mr. Sharma is like, oh, nice. I was just waiting for this day. I just didn't have the guts to, sign, give you my letter of resignation. And then the Karnam is shocked. He's like, you're not sad about this? He's like, oh, I am sorry about leaving the children, definitely. But the village members, no way. And so Mr. Sharma packs his bags, and then the Karnam is like, I've had enough of you. Can you just please leave as soon as possible? And Mr. Sharma is like, gladly. And the Karnam had also come with a train ticket for him, which was for the next day. So Mr. Sharma has all his bags packed for the next day. The children, so just they had welcomed him under the banyan tree. All of the villagers are collectively standing there under the banyan tree. The children this time, instead of suspicion and curiosity, there's just sorrow in their eyes. Some of them are even crying for having Mr. Sharma go. And Mr. Sharma just tells them, take proper care of the camera and go on these walks and, look at what's happening around. And then he gives them a nice small advising lecture sort of that was very welcome amongst the kids. Old mother in a brass dabba, she had these sweet, balls that were like deeply fried. It was just made with a mixture of jaggery and rice flour and coconut probably. She had all of that packed in a brass dabba for him. She just placed that over his luggage and hugged him while he left. And that was the last we saw of him. Now our village is very proud of 4 things: the local, our temple, the local idiot, the middle school, and the schoolmaster that we showed off. Thank you.
Let's stay with the story for 30 seconds before we move on to the discussions. So just give me a minute. I'll just put the camera in a position where everybody can see everyone. So I was thinking.
One person will have to kind of hear and.
I was thinking I'll put on the earphones
Okay.
and yeah. Well then hello. Hello, can you all hear us?
And you can just check. Mercy, can you hear?
I can't hear anybody.
And Mercy, can you say something?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I remove this and see? No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to begin with, we will start with the first story. That is Sunita's story. I don't know what to. So. Yeah. Yeah. So to begin with, any questions that you would like to ask for the story?
Question, but the basic thing of what connects to the story is, I think, very simple and very obvious that there's always people in our lives, come into our lives for a reason, I feel, and they can change our lives in many ways, and that's sort of that's what really.
Just a second, they can't hear actually. Should I?
Yeah, actually, that would be good enough. You can hold that.
You can take this. I'll just push it over there. Come on.
Bye bye.
Hi, can you all hear me? Yeah, okay. So I just want to start the discussion by saying I think it's my story was pretty obvious about the theme of the story. It was really about having people. There are people who come to your life for a certain reason. They come at a certain time, and they play such an important part, really, in changing our lives in so many ways. And and we're all fortunate if some of us have had people like that. I think we're very fortunate. And that was sort of the connection that sort of really endeared me to this story that we share.
So, for everyone, is there anybody who has affected your life so much, motivated you so much?
Actually, I did something else in this story, and that is more of this thing about moving on. So we were recently in Goa 50 years since we got out of school, and we went to one of these breakfast places, a table tennis table, and we tried to play, but you feel like you're playing in a rubber suit. Like everything feels so far, so distant. And so what I meant is the thing of like you finish that part of your life, now you're moving on to something else, and it's best to try and accept that as gracefully rather than cling to okay, I'm still not that old, I'm still not that thing, whatever. Realize that it's that part of your life that fades. That's it. That, when you were talking about how she said, I'm tired now, I don't want to make any more bags. That's it.
Anybody in the audience who wants to online who wants to say anything, I can repeat it for the others. Yes, Mercy.
Yeah. So yeah, there comes a stage in one's lives when there is a kind of a regression and retraction in that family circle, and you are left alone with spouse, without spouse, or with less what you call resources, with less health, probably with many things, but the ability to carry on and to live fruitfully, comfortably, happily, and very satisfied with what one is doing, even if it is a small thing like making those bags, or you're looking at around and making people feel happy and things like that. These are great lessons in life, and it's bound to happen with everyone. Yeah, this is a circle of life, or the cycle of life, and it's very encouraging to listen to the story. I was a bit disappointed in the end when this lady gave up as such. I hope later on she must have got inspired again to start again, because yes, you do feel a little bit down, but then hopefully she came out of that that low feeling and started doing something again. That's what I feel.
Thank you,
Because
Mercy.
one should
Thank
not
you.
give up till the last breath, I say.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter was just saying that it's important to, I think for him it was about moving on, and that's
Yeah.
it's important to be able to carry on and not give up. You're right. You're right. Can all of you all hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Can you all hear Chetan?
A little bit. A little bit.
Yes, so I feel we've all made out our lives so that there is a progression to it. I mean, we have children, our children go to college, we work, and we retire. But after we retire, there is just a long stretch of living. I mean, without any phases. I mean, we're not measuring your years or counting your years by something. And I think, I don't know, this is my feeling. I've not been in that situation yet, but I feel that that is a sense of, that there is nothing next that you are looking forward to. A thing I can think of is that my mother refuses to use a walking stick because she's saying, I don't want to get used to it. And at some stage, I feel like, is she right or am I right thinking that you have to get used to it? I mean, you're only going to be needing the stick more and more. Whereas she thinks that the stick will actually hasten her dependence on it and she doesn't want to use it. So I think that this whole phase is a bit of a mystery for us. We don't know what we should be doing. Last night we had dinner with a set of friends who I felt were, still getting used to getting older. I mean that, they have health issues now, they have problems, and it's easy to sit afar and say, yeah, but that's the stage of life that you're in. But I guess it's difficult to lose facility, right? I mean, you're otherwise used to getting better and better at what you do. Just like Peter said, suddenly that table tennis seems like such a stretch, So I think it's a challenge for all of us. Yeah, I too was disappointed at the end that she chose not to do it. And I was hoping that the story would end on a more positive note, but that's of course that's all of us desire.
Yes, Rajni. You need to unmute yourself, Rajni.
You see, we have to accept that it's law of nature. A person who is born has to go leave the world. sooner or later. Unfortunately, you know, some people, they have to leave the young, and who the family or the friends who are left behind, it becomes very difficult for them, you know, to sort of bear that separation. But then one has to understand that the only way to like you people said, that you have to carry on in life, uh, because you have your responsibilities. You know, if your partner leaves you at a young age, you have your family to look after. And also, you know, in the world, you just can't carry on with a crying face. People don't accept you, you know, it's very tough. You have to keep smiling, you have to, you know, and once you adopt that attitude in life, then, you know, it becomes your second nature. That is, yeah, the difficulties are there. That person whom I loved has gone, but then one day I will also have to go. So why not live for the day? So that's how my philosophy is.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rajni. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We'll move to the story if if it is okay with everyone. Yeah. Any thoughts for this story? No? Okay. So the next story was Nidhi's story. I'll just hand over the device to Nidhi. Uh, Nidhi, the question for you is, what is your connect with the story? And any specific question that you would like to ask anybody? And so, with regard to a special connect, uh, I come from a background where there are different religions, and every religion has a different take on after death. So it was very interesting for me to see that this particular author chose to write about reincarnation and look at a collective consciousness which is beyond life. There were times where the curiosity got the better of me, and I'm grateful that it did. So I did go into reading a lot about this particular topic. So the story interested me. So the question I have to everybody present here is, uh, how much? Uh, Wait, let me phrase it a little properly. Yeah. How much of an impact does the thought or the concept of afterlife have on your present? I'm going to repeat my question. How much of an impact does the thought or the belief in the afterlife have on your present or the way you live your life?
The way you live your life.
Yeah. So from early childhood, I've always heard my mother saying, whatever you do, you have to do. आपको इसी जन्म में भोगना पड़ता है. Everything that goes wrong in a life, she says, she has a reason that maybe I didn't do something right. So I still am trying to wonder. There are times when she says that. So suppose if there's something that my husband does for her, so then she's like, if I take too much from him, I'll have to give it to him in this birth, or I will have to take a next birth to give it back to him. So it's a thought which I'm always like, आप अभी ये तो संभाल लो, बाद में संभाल लेना फ्यूचर का और अगले जन्म का. Because I don't know, does it really happen? That, but I would really like to know. I'm extremely curious to understand कि ये सच में होता है कि नहीं होता है. I don't want to believe in it or not believe in it, but I want a reason to believe in it. that, that is all that I can say. Thank you. Would anybody else like to answer? There is science behind this, right? What goes
Science, it's philosophy and science. Uh, yeah, so to answer your question, no, I don't really believe. I'd say if it's there and it happens. As far as I know, reincarnation, that's somebody else, that's not you. Unless you carry your memories forward, that's not you, that's a different person. If you do happen to get you. I also feel that this whole universe is quite nutty. And this could be reversed. You could even land up in the afterlife where, if you believe in the whole Christian thing, that is exactly what happens. There's a heaven and hell and all. And when you sorted out all those, processed all those images, and you're ready to move on, you probably give up the camp. So, a lovely movie is that what dreams may come, where Robin Williams, he dies and goes into the afterlife. Like all the struggles that he has in the afterlife. And it ends up with him and the whole family deciding that it's time to go back. Time to go back. Let's go back and see if we can find ourselves. If we get reborn, and see if we can find each other once more.
I just speaking for myself, I think that maybe the only thought of afterlife is that it sort of keeps a check on me. It's kind of my conscience. You sort of feel that that even if no one is watching, I'll have to pay for my sins in my afterlife. So I'd rather not sin so that I don't have to. That's the only thought that ever occurs to me about afterlife. And otherwise, so I'm saying in a way, it's a conscience. It's just that you may have to pay for this sometime. That's the only impact that I have. It's not that I'm doing anything less in this life or saying that. So I think very often we explain the whole chalta hai attitude in India because we feel that all of us believe that theek hai, ab nahi hua to agle janam mein ho jayega. But I don't think that directly. I don't think I think that way. And if you ask me the question, do you believe in afterlife? I don't have an answer. It's not. I don't think there's a science, but yeah, it's a belief, and God knows. I don't know what happens. God knows, again, I said. But I guess the only thing that it sort of impacts you is that just be good. That's all.
I don't know. I don't look at it from a moralistic point of view about doing something terrible in this life and paying for it for the next life. But I believe the people we meet. I mean, I buy into that romantic notion that we're all connected and that we have met before in our lives, especially if, it's a very, very close bond of people that you have met, and you have very close bonds with. I feel maybe it is a connection from another life.
Yes, even
So,
I
I don't
believe
know.
that.
Maybe I enjoy the romance of of it more than anything.
Sharapat Ali and that lady were connected in some way.
Yep.
Uh,
Yes, Mercy.
well, you have to study Bhagavad Gita to understand the law of birth and rebirth, because every action has a reaction. And our actions, they don't bear fruit immediately. Sometimes we do something, and and the fruits also, which we get in our life, the results, they are not what we expect will happen. Because so many things, they affect, like if you appearing in an exam, and somebody is ringing at the door. So sorry, I have
Yeah,
to leave in
sure.
between. I'll just come back and explain. So
Sure.
sorry.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, Mercy, you
Yeah,
wanted to say
in the
something.
meantime, I just wanted to first to say that all the three speakers, the narrators, are brilliant, And Sunita, I wasn't disappointed in you, but I was only disappointed in your ending. And I was hoping, like, you have these serials, serial seasons 1, season 2, season 3. So there's always a hope that there'll be a next part of your story in that the next season. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm only hoping that she comes out of that down feeling and comes up. So otherwise, I always admire all of you, the way you all narrate stories. It's really magical.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Blissy.
Let's
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah.
In that case, then I'm going to leave you with a thought, question more. Um, are we all just visitors here?
Oh, I give it to Hatika. Interesting question. Yeah. So now moving on to the third and the last story. That is Bhavana's story. Bhavana, would you like to ask your question? Yeah.
Um, Hi. So the question that comes up in my head with this story is, like, how often should we break through traditions and accept the new, and when should we not accept the new? Because in this story, I saw that there were a lot of incidences where, uh, like the Zamindari abolition bill, right? The government was giving you something new, and it's sort of for your own good, like yours as in like the villagers' own good. But then they ensured that the zamindar was still given enough respect that if he's exploiting somebody or if he's doing something to anybody, that is sort of not exploiting, but then that's doing any harm to the villagers in any way, like the noisy parties and everything, the villagers just left it alone because they still held him at a prestigious position and all of that, right? And that also sort of led them to lose something that they were really proud of having in the end. So, what tradition should be broken and what tradition should be held on to is a question that comes up to my mind in this story. So it's not really a question, just a thought.
The logical mind today asks explanation for everything. So I was talking to one of my friends that day. So those people who come all dressed up and ask for some things, na, they were coming out. They were just on the road, and we were waiting for the school bus to come. So she told me that when I was small, my grandmother told me that if you see these people and you go out of the house, they will grab you, and take you away. Now I cannot imagine myself telling this to my son because he he's logical, and there's a big difference about change, and I think that finally eventually you learn to accept it even if you don't want to accept it. There are some things that you don't want to accept, but eventually you learn to accept that. That is what I'd like to say. Anybody has the anyone? Should I?
So to answer your question, I guess that are there any practices that involve abuse or
exploitation? Yeah, those should be stopped. But like in the village, it takes a couple of generations before you are comfortable. With, like you were saying, my entire family line is there because of his entire family line. It's very difficult to break out of that particular tradition. But once it was also the fact that this particular guy was extremely poor, but there were also other zamindars who were extremely rich, exploited the people, could feel that everything, including the women in that village, belonged to them and behaved that way. So that typical Hindi movie stereotype of zamindar has come from somewhere. So,
And also, when the change is so small, it's often ignored. Like this Zamindar guy, he's basically not doing anything bad to anybody. But there are like just tiny bits in the way he's affecting people's life, and it's not for the better. So think it's so small and it cannot be pinpointed. So it's just ignored. Yeah. Like, chalta hai to chala rahe. And then they cost you in the end somehow. And then you just can't connect the dots to what led to.
Yes, Mercy.
I just wanted to say, yeah, this is very thought-provoking. This is how societies change, because societies are dynamic with times. Situations change, so slowly, everybody learns to accept change. It takes sometimes very long, sometimes it goes faster. The materialistic change takes place faster than the values or the attitudes. So yes, and I like very much that expression which Bhavana gave. She spoke, I mean, when she was narrating the story, she put in a lovely expressions that the left eyebrow was raised as high as that person's, that Zamindar's anger, something like that. I loved all those, beautiful flowery language. And I listened to the story, plus I enjoyed all those expressions, beautiful expressions of all three speakers.
Thank you.
Of all these speakers, really enjoyed. Everybody spoke so well. It was really very interesting session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, hi, Kala. Hi, Sorali. You're on mute. Anything that you would like to add?
Nothing really. Enjoyed the stories.
Thank you.
I
So,
like this concept. I'm sad I'm not there with you all in the park.
she's saying she liked the venue.
That's what Peter was
Yeah,
asking.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry for the initial glitches that we came across. We are just trying to, but I hope it worked fine for you all, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was loud and clear.
Yeah.
I didn't think y'all would be on Zoom, so it was a pleasant surprise for me. I thought it will be exclusively for y'all and we would be left out.
I thought they had lost the plot that they wanted to do it on Zoom in the park. There is so much noise around us. I cannot believe that you guys could hear the story well, but I'm glad it went well.
With that, thank you so much. We'll just wind it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So